Picture this. You're living in a compound in a jungle. You've given away all your money. You call a guy named Father, even though he's definitely not your dad. And you're drinking Kool-Aid that tastes suspicious. Congratulations, you're in a cult. And spoiler alert, it doesn't end well. I'm Chirpy Crow, and today we're covering every major cult leader's downfall. Because apparently, convincing people you're a god has some consequences. Throughout history, charismatic psychopaths have convinced millions of people to join their special groups. Some promised enlightenment, others promised salvation. All of them promised something they couldn't deliver. And they all had one thing in common. They eventually crashed and burned spectacularly. Today, we're covering the biggest cult collapses in history. Jim Jones and the Jonestown Massacre, Charles Manson and the family murders, David Koresh and the Waco siege, Marshall Applewhite and Heaven's Gate, Keith Raniere and NXIVM, plus rapid-fire bonus cults that'll make you question humanity. And hey, if you're not in a cult right now, hit that subscribe button. If you are in a cult, maybe watch this video first, then reconsider your life choices. Let's dive into the darkness. Our first cult leader is Jim Jones, a charismatic preacher who started the People's Temple in the 1950s. He promised racial equity, socialist paradise, and healing miracles. Spoiler, he delivered none of those things. What he did deliver was paranoia, abuse, and eventually mass murder. In the 1970s, Jones got nervous about investigations into his church, so he did what any rational person would do. He did not do what a rational person would do. He moved 900 followers to the jungle of Guyana and built a compound called Jonestown. Because nothing says this will end well like isolating people in a remote jungle. At Jonestown, Jones went full dictator mode. 16-hour workdays in the fields, public humiliation sessions called catharsis, loudspeakers blaring his sermons 24/7, armed guards preventing anyone from leaving. Jones became convinced the CIA was coming for him. He wasn't important enough for the CIA to care. The CIA did not care. But he was important enough for Congressman Leo Ryan to investigate after families reported loved ones being held against their will. On November 17, 1978, Congressman Ryan flew to Jonestown with journalists and concerned relatives. Jones put on a show, pretending everything was fine. But then several followers slipped notes to Ryan saying, "Get us out of here." Ryan agreed to take anyone who wanted to leave. Jones did not handle this well. As Ryan's group boarded planes at the nearby airstrip, Jones sent armed guards who opened fire, killing Ryan and 4 others. Back at Jonestown, Jones knew it was over, so he gathered everyone and gave his final sermon. He called it revolutionary suicide. It was murder. Jones ordered his followers to drink cyanide-laced Flavor Aid, not Kool-Aid, common misconception. Though don't drink the Flavor Aid doesn't have the same ring. 909 people died that day, including 304 children. It remains the largest mass murder-suicide in modern history. Jim Jones, he took the coward's way out with a gunshot to the head. When authorities arrived, they found bodies everywhere. Parents who died trying to save their children. Others forced at gunpoint to drink poison. The lesson? If someone asks you to move to a jungle compound and calls themselves Father, don't. Next up, Charles Manson, possibly the most famous cult leader in American history. And he didn't even kill anyone himself. Manson was a failed musician, career criminal, and professional manipulator who formed The Family in 1967. His followers were mostly young women from broken homes looking for belonging. Manson convinced them he was Jesus Christ, also that he was the devil, also that he was a revolutionary. His theology was inconsistent, but his control techniques were textbook cult leader. LSD-fueled religious experiences, sleep deprivation, sexual manipulation, isolation from family, apocalyptic prophecies. Manson became obsessed with the Beatles' White Album, specifically Helter Skelter. He interpreted it as a prophecy about a coming race war. It was a song about a playground slide. Manson believed Black Americans would rise up, kill white people, then realize they needed Manson to lead them. His plan was to hide in the desert until this happened, then emerge as king. This plan had several flaws. All of them. In August 1969, Manson decided to start the race war by ordering his followers to murder wealthy white people and frame Black Americans for it. On August 9th, family members broke into the home of actress Sharon Tate and director Roman Polanski. Polanski was away filming. Tate was 8 months pregnant. They murdered 5 people that night, writing "pig" on the door in blood. The next night, they killed 2 more people, the LaBiancas, writing "helter skelter" in blood. The murders shocked America. 4 months, police had no leads. Then one of the killers, Susan Atkins, bragged about it to her cellmate while jailed on other charges. The cellmate told police. Manson and 4 family members were arrested in October 1969. The trial was a circus. Manson carved an X into his forehead. His followers camped outside the courthouse singing. He tried to attack the judge. Very normal defendant behavior. In 1971, Manson and his followers were convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to death. California later abolished the death penalty, so it became life in prison. Manson spent 46 years in jail, giving weird interviews and maintaining his innocence. He was not innocent. He died in prison in 2017 at age 83, still claiming he never told anyone to kill anyone. The recordings of him literally telling people to kill people suggested otherwise. Time for the cult that ended in literal flames. David Koresh and the Branch Davidians. David Koresh, born Vernon Wayne Howell, which is way less cult leader sounding, joined a small religious group called the Branch Davidians in the early 1980s. They were an offshoot of Seventh-day Adventists who believed they were living in the end times. They were not. Koresh took over leadership through a literal shootout with a rival leader. Very Jesus-like. Once in charge, Koresh's teachings got progressively more unhinged. He was the final prophet. He alone could interpret the 7 seals in Revelation. He was entitled to 140 wives. Very specific number. All the women in the compound were his spiritual wives. This included girls as young as 12. Yep, he was a pedophile. Not great. Koresh also became obsessed with preparing for the apocalypse. The compound stockpiled hundreds of firearms, thousands of rounds of ammunition, grenade components, enough MREs to survive months. This attracted the attention of the ATF, Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. On February 28, 1993, ATF agents attempted to raid the compound to investigate illegal weapons. They had a warrant. They expected some resistance. They got a lot of resistance. A massive gunfight broke out. 4 ATF agents died. 6 Davidians died. Both sides blamed each other for shooting first. The raid failed, and now the FBI was involved. Thus began a 51-day siege. For nearly 2 months, FBI negotiators tried to convince Koresh to surrender. Koresh kept promising to come out after he finished writing his interpretation of the 7 seals. He never finished writing it. The FBI's patience ran out. On April 19, 1993, they pumped tear gas into the compound to force everyone out. Instead, fires started inside the building. Within hours, the entire compound was engulfed in flames. 76 people died in the fire, including 25 children and David Koresh himself. Investigations concluded the Davidians set the fires themselves, preferring to die rather than surrender. Survivors claim the FBI's tear gas caused the fires. Either way, it was a catastrophic failure by law enforcement and a tragic end to a dangerous cult. The Waco siege became a rallying cry for anti-government extremists, including Timothy McVeigh, who bombed Oklahoma City exactly 2 years later. Now for the cult that thought a comet was their Uber, Heaven's Gate. Founded by Marshall Applewhite and Bonnie Nettles in the 1970s, Heaven's Gate believed Earth was about to be recycled, and the only way to survive was to leave your human body and ascend to an alien spacecraft. You know, normal stuff. Applewhite called himself Doe, like the musical note. Nettles was T. Together they were the Two. Very creative naming system. Heaven's Gate members lived together in extreme uniformity. Identical black clothing, same short haircuts, men and women. No personal possessions, no relationships or sex. Some male members were castrated to suppress desires. Again, yikes. In 1997, the Hale-Bopp comet became visible from Earth. Applewhite convinced his followers that a UFO was hiding behind the comet, waiting to pick them up. There was one small problem. There was no UFO. But Applewhite said the only way to board the spacecraft was to exit their human vehicles. That's cult speak for kill yourself. Over 3 days in March 1997, 39 Heaven's Gate members committed suicide in shifts in a mansion in Rancho Santa Fe, California. They ate applesauce laced with phenobarbital and vodka, put plastic bags over their heads, and lay down on bunk beds, wearing identical black outfits and brand new Nike Decades. They left behind detailed video explanations saying they were excited to leave Earth and were looking forward to the next level. Police discovered the bodies on March 26th after an anonymous tip from a former member. The mass suicide shocked the world. The matching Nikes became a bizarre pop culture detail that everyone remembers. Heaven's Gate had a website, still online today, maintained by remaining followers, explaining their beliefs. It does not explain their beliefs in a way that makes them sound less insane. Marshall Applewhite was among the dead. No spaceship arrived. The comet kept flying through space, completely unaware it had been recruited for a mass suicide. Finally, let's talk about the cult that pretended to be a self-help seminar, NXIVM. Pronounced NXIVM like the heartburn medication, which is ironic because this cult gave a lot of people heartburn. Keith Raniere founded NXIVM in 1998 as a personal development company offering expensive seminars. For $5,000, you could learn to unlock your potential. What you actually got was brainwashing. NXIVM used classic cult tactics. 16-hour intensive seminars designed to break you down. A ranking system where you had to recruit others to advance. Teachings that Raniere was the smartest man alive. IQ of 240. Sleep deprivation. Extreme low-calorie diets. Public humiliation sessions called breaches. His IQ was not 240. Raniere convinced followers to call him Vanguard. He had a harem of women he manipulated into sleeping with him while preaching that monogamy was limiting. Typical cult leader hypocrisy. But the true evil part was the DOS, a secret group within NXIVM that Raniere created in 2015. DOS stood for Dominus Obsequious Sororium, Latin for Lord Master of the Obedient Female Companions. The Latin gave it away as creepy. In DOS, women were branded with Raniere's initials using a cauterizing pen. No anesthesia. They were told it was empowering. It was not empowering. DOS members also had to provide collateral, nude photos, damaging secrets, anything Raniere could use for blackmail. They were forced into sexual relationships with Raniere and ordered to follow extreme diets to stay thin for him. In 2017, actress Sarah Edmondson left NXIVM and showed her brand to journalists. The New York Times published an expose revealing the branding, sexual abuse, and manipulation. Raniere fled to Mexico. In March 2018, the FBI arrested him in a luxury villa in Puerto Vallarta. Fun fact, when arrested, he was hiding in a closet. At trial in 2019, dozens of women testified about the abuse. Raniere's inner circle, including Smallville actress Allison Mack, pleaded guilty and cooperated. The evidence was overwhelming. Branding videos, blackmail materials, Raniere's own emails ordering the abuse, financial records showing he'd spent $65 million of followers' money. In June 2019, Keith Raniere was convicted on all counts: racketeering, sex trafficking, forced labor conspiracy, wire fraud. He was sentenced to 120 years in prison. He'll die in jail. Raniere maintains his innocence to this day, claiming he's a victim of a conspiracy. He is not the victim. NXIVM officially disbanded. Former members are still recovering. The brand scars are permanent reminders of Raniere's cruelty. The self-help company turned out to be exactly what critics said: a sex cult built around one man's narcissism and depravity. We've covered the big ones, but history is full of cult leaders who thought they were special. Let's speed read some honorable mentions. Number 1. Om Shinrikyo, Japan, 1995. Leader, Shoko Asahara claimed to be Jesus and Buddha. Downfall, released sarin gas in Tokyo subway killing 13. Asahara executed in 2018. Number 2. Order of the Solar Temple, 1990s. Leaders Luc Jouret and Joseph DiMambro believed in apocalypse. Downfall, 74 members died in murder-suicides across Switzerland, France, and Canada. Both leaders dead. 3. Children of God, 1968 to present. Leader David Berg promoted religious prostitution. Downfall, exposed for child abuse. Berg died in hiding in 1994. Group rebranded as The Family International. Number 4. Rajneeshpuram, Oregon, 1980s. Leader Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh loved Rolls-Royce. Downfall, followers attempted bioterror attack poisoning salad bars with salmonella. Rajneesh deported, died in India in 1990. Number 5. Synanon, California, 1970s to 80s. Leader Charles Dietrich started as drug rehab, became violent cult. Downfall, members put rattlesnake in mailbox of critic Paul Morantz. Dietrich pleaded no contest. Synanon dissolved. Humans really need to stop following charismatic weirdos into the jungle. So what do all these cults have in common? 1. Charisma without conscience. They could charm people but felt no empathy for them. 2. Grandiose delusions. They believed they were special, prophets, messiahs, geniuses. They weren't. 3. Isolation tactics. Cut followers off from family, friends, and outside information. 4. Us versus them mentality. The world was evil, only the cult was pure. 5. Exploitation. Money, sex, labor. Cult leaders took everything they could. 6. Apocalyptic thinking. The world was ending soon, so extreme actions were justified. 7. They all failed. Every single cult leader in this video is either dead or in prison. The lesson? If someone claims they're the only enlightened being on Earth and demands you give them money, cut off your family, and move to a compound, they're lying. Cult leaders prey on vulnerable people looking for meaning, community, and purpose. Those are normal human needs, but the answer isn't following a narcissistic con artist into the jungle. Join a book club, volunteer, see a therapist. Just don't join a group where one person makes all the decisions. Questioning is forbidden. Leaving is treated as betrayal. Your money becomes their money. The leader has a suspicious number of teenage wives. History repeats itself because people forget. So remember these stories, share them, and if your friend starts talking about their enlightened teacher who needs $10,000, stage an intervention. If you learned something today or just enjoyed watching me roast dead cult leaders, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We've covered presidential scandals, dictator deaths, and corporate collapses. This is all part of our Dark History Explained series. Next video, every assassination attempt explained, because apparently being powerful makes you a target. Who knew? I'm Chirpy Crow. Stay curious, stay skeptical, and whatever you do, don't drink the Kool-Aid. Or the Flavor-Aid. Right, that too.